men being in the trade is a given. For women who are getting into the trades, I think they need to understand that there's so much more that they can do with their career. For women specifically entering into the trades, they need to understand how challenging it is, and they need to really make sure they have a support system of people who are going to be constantly encouraging them to stay in the trade and to kind of continue to build their career within the industry.
Stay focused, get ready now. For real, get ready now.
Nitro with the nice flow.
Stay focused, get ready now.
Hello, good people. Welcome back to The Blueprint. Today I have on the show a very good friend of mine, a colleague and a co-worker, and also the president of a contractor assist organization called BCOE, Black Contractors Owners and Executives. Her name is Angela Drexel. Angela, thanks for joining us today here on The Blueprint.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So why don't we get right into it and you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got into these positions that you're in.
Okay. Well, I started off in the industry about 22 years ago as a local 134 apprentice electrician. I was one of those young people who was very curious about a lot of things, but I needed something that was going to give me a career and a stable and competitive salary. At the time, I didn't know that I would be able to have any career growth from being an electrician. That's something that came along after the fact, but that was my initial motivation. Mm-hmm. And I have an aunt who worked for Illinois Bell, which is now AT&T.
Oh, back in the day.
Back in the day.
Oh, Illinois Bell. Ma Bell, that's what they called it back in the day.
Right. And so she, just gave me some good advice and was like, I think you need to work with your hands. You're jumping around a lot. And I think it might be worthwhile for you to pursue looking into Chicago, into CWIT, which is Chicago Women in Trades.
That was a trade association that you started with first.
Correct, CWIT. And so that, you know what, and I think that acronym is incorrect. I think it's construction. Isn't it construction? Women in Trades is not Chicago Women in Trades. Anyway, I digress. So I went through their technical opportunities program and prepared to take the apprenticeship test and scored 95 and got into the apprenticeship right away. And the rest is history. After I finished my apprenticeship, I went back to school. I finished my associates in construction electrical technology, went to IIT, finished my degree in industrial technology and management. I was working at ComEd.
Oh,
you
wow.
started LiveWire.
Right.
It came full circle. Yeah.
So just letting you all know that when I said Angela and I have known each other for a long time, we've actually worked side by side on construction projects together. My first time meeting her, she was very, very rude to me and continues to be today. No, I'm just kidding.
He was extremely bossy and
continue to be today.
Exactly. Exactly. My nickname for him was the junior foreman in charge, which he actually was. The general foreman gave him a set of blueprints and he was running the whole floor that I was on. But I was like 6 months out of my apprenticeship and I was proving myself.
She was proving how she could tear up these folks' building with her practices.
Let's move on to the next question.
I tried to come in and help her.
What's the next question? Come on, man. You just
okay. Well, let's get into it though. I mean, really, from the time that you and I started working together, you progressed from that apprenticeship piece to actually being a foreman and running work on my jobs and other projects.
Yeah.
And then the transition, actually, you leaving the trades. And that doesn't normally happen. Typically, when you get into trades, and really women in the trades is already a phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
Typically, women leave the trade because, maybe they don't like the conditions or the environment, or guys are being jerks on the job. But you didn't leave the hands-on trades because of any of those reasons. You left to actually pursue a higher career.
Yeah. I think I could have stayed in the field and continued to run work and became a GF and, all of that. But I think that as I began to progress in the industry, I understood that there was more to what I could do with the knowledge and experience that I gained in the field. And an opportunity came about from a friend that I knew who was working at, she was actually working on the Exelon side and the nuclear side, and heard about an opening on the distribution side for a field operations supervisor. And I had no, idea at the time that I would even qualify. And I pursued that, and I got some excellent experience in the corporate arena of learning how to manage and supervise and lead a department. And I was able to take that and kind of continue to build on it once, you started LiveWire, and I was doing some consulting. And then I came full time into LiveWire in September of 2008. I was able to kind of merge that experience from the field and the management experience I learned at ComEd to really help us build LiveWire. So I think that just taking foundational experiences that you get, if you have the vision for it and you also have the support system around you, you can really do something with that. And I think I have both.
So people that are trying to get into the trades, that's one step that you took. What advice would you give to those folks now that they're looking to get into the construction trades, especially electrician?
Well, I mean, I think that I have to speak specifically for women that are trying to get into the trade. I think because, only because men being in the trade is a given. But I think for women who are getting into the trades, I think they need to understand that there's so much more that they can do with their career besides just finishing that 5-year apprenticeship program. I also think that entering into the trade, you need to understand what your needs are to stay into it and finish it. So for me, I had no idea how difficult it was going to be. Obviously, they prepared that. They talked to us about that at CWIT, what it was going to be like working in the field, but you really don't understand until you're in it. And if I hadn't had people like you and Mike Evans and other Black male role models who were in supervisor and leadership positions in the field, encouraging me and giving me the support structure I needed to finish, including my family. My family was very encouraging. My friends were very encouraging. But it's different when it comes from a colleague that's working side by side with you, and they're investing in you and they're teaching you things and exposing you to things so that you can grow and learn. I think had I not had that, I definitely would not have finished. So I think for women specifically entering into the trades, they need to understand how challenging it is, and they need to really make sure they have a support system of people who are going to be constantly encouraging them to stay in the trade and to kind of continue to build their career within the industry.
So moving on to working for an actual utility company, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of next level. A lot of folks from our community don't get that opportunity, especially from a professional management standard, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that was a very, very challenging position, and it was a very challenging environment as well. In a corporate structure and a huge utility like that. I had the same though, in terms of people who were around me who wanted to see me be successful. I learned a lot from the people who I supervised. I kind of came in as like a young, cocky person who really didn't know anything but thought they knew something. And so I was supervising these linemen who were literally old enough to be my father. And they looked at me like, you don't know nothing.
Oh, go on, sit down.
Exactly. You know nothing.
Right.
And so once that dawned on me that I was not the hot shot that I thought I was, and I humbled myself and I allowed them to teach me and show me the ropes, and I would ride in the trucks with them and I would spend time in the field with them. And then I got really good at my job. I got really good because I was leaning on their expertise and experience to really fast track me to where I needed to be. And I was really at the point where, I was ready for a promotion. I was ready to really grow my career. And I just kept hitting that glass ceiling, which is typical for corporate America. And at the time, I didn't have the patience for all of that. I wasn't about to try to navigate the bureaucracy, the politicking and all of that. That just wasn't where my mind space was. I knew what I was capable of and I wanted it. And if they weren't going to give it to me, I was going to get it somewhere else. So I left. And at the time, my vice president was like, this is not a good economy. I left right before the recession. He was like, this is not a good economy. I'm really afraid for you. Don't leave. I had just came back from vacation. I was walking in with a beach bag on my shoulder. I was just all kinds of disrespectful.
Folks
and I was
leave their job when they come back from vacation. Say, I done changed my mind. I don't want to do this no more.
And I just told him, I said, it's just not. I'm kind of over it. You know, I was really discouraged by the lack of mobility that I was able to have. And
did you feel like, you know, at that point now you really learned your job well, and now you're just being passed over because why? You're a woman, you're black, you're what is it? Why do you feel as though you got passed over? Do you feel passed over?
I do feel passed over. I feel like I was more than qualified for the positions, the promotional positions that I was applying for. But there, again, I would kind of talked about that politicking a little bit. You have a lot of, you know, it's still a very predominantly white male industry.
Right.
And you have a lot of old timers that, you know, were maybe competing with me in those same positions and those jobs went to them. And I feel like I was a high performer. I was, you know, very highly rated. I wasn't a perfect employee, and nobody is, but I really was somebody who became, in terms of our operational team, somebody who was relied upon a lot. And I just felt like I didn't have the patience. And my younger self just didn't have the patience for waiting it out and continuing to see. And the thing is, there were very few Black women in leadership roles.
Wow.
That I could even, it would even inspire me to stay and say, oh, well, that person can, you know, made it. And I'm looking at all these women so now I'm inspired to stay. There was 2.
And you.
Right. Well, I was a supervisor, and there was only that at the time, there was only 2 VPs that were Black women. So I had no other inspiration. There was like really no
middle. How many people?
Oh, ComEd employs, you know, employs hundreds and hundreds, and that's just ComEd is just one local company, and then they have Pico, and they have all these other, you know,
so would you say that now that, you know, on the outside looking in, because you're no longer there, have they, you know, changed those practices? Have they done things to try to encourage more inclusion from the Black community, from, you know, women?
You know, I think so, because a lot of the people who I worked with, I've seen grow into managers and directors.
Okay.
So I think they have improved that. Like a lot of my colleagues that I worked with, when I communicate and talk to them now, they have grown into those positions. But mind you, I've been gone from ComEd since 2008. So it's kind of taken a long time for them to grow into those positions. It's great that they're there though, but I'm sorry, but I don't have time for all of that. I you know, and maybe that's a kind of like a flaw of mine, that I do have a little bit of impatience when it comes to my success and me getting from point A to B. I'm not about to just continue to run the hamster wheel.
Right.
I need forward progress, and forward progress just wasn't coming. Like 10 years to become a manager, that's not for me.
You have more potential than that, right?
Absolutely.
So, all right. Now you've worked with your hands in the field. You've worked with a utility company. You know the high voltages. What was the largest voltage you worked with, by the way?
34 kV, because when I supervised the Maywood office, that office has O'Hare. So there's a lot of 34
So 34,000 volts all the way down to 4 volts.
4,000. Well, in my entire career, right, all the way down to 120.
Wow, that's impressive.
So
that's how your hair gets so straight, huh? All right. So moving right along. So then you take this leap of faith. You quit your job and you go into actually your own business, consulting.
Right.
Being a safety consultant. And then we kind of cross paths again as far as business, and we say, hey, maybe this is a good fit. And then at that point, you tell us about your journey maybe through LiveWire. You can tell it better than I can.
Well, I mean, it's not like we cross paths. I mean, we've always been, friends. And so I knew when you were starting LiveWire and, all of that. And I think when I started my consulting business, I was kind of giving you services that you needed at the time, which is just like some project management or writing some policies and, processes and things like that, which I think was pretty small scale. And I think that you realized when I started doing that I was feeling a huge need, and that because you're a visionary, right? And so you could put two and two together and see that
she was free.
I really wasn't free. I really wasn't free. I was affordable.
She was affordable.
I don't like the word cheap. I was affordable, right? So I fit within the budget, which was small. And so I think that you could see that that you could put two and two together and see that if you had somebody like myself helping you build the operations for LiveWire, that you could actually grow it into what you saw it to be. And of course, when we were, younger and in the trade, you've always had an entrepreneur spirit, and you've always wanted to have your own business and branch out and break out. So I think once you saw what I learned, right, I built on that experience and I learned so much at ComEd, and you saw that it could benefit LiveWire, then it was kind of like, don't you want to do this full time? Don't you want to do this full time? Come on.
Is that what I said? Is that what I said?
Right.
Okay, that's what I said.
And so we ended up, that it was like a natural transition, right? And so I did wear a lot of different hats. I kind of was whatever you needed me to be for a long time.
You worked in the field.
I worked in the field.
You were a foreman.
I was a foreman. I was a project manager. I was the business manager. I did marketing. I did all kinds of things, just kind of filling the roles that we needed at the time. And, I think the rest is history, right? We, as we grew, I was forced to grow. You also gave me a lot of training opportunities to, further my experience and further my capabilities, or kind of continue to build on the platform that I already had. And that was important too, because then I was in a place where I could start to really expand my capacity in the organization and build the capacity of the business to grow.
And at that point, you really became a triple threat to the organization, meaning, you had that hands-on capability, you knew safety, you had leadership training while you were at the utility.
Yeah.
And now one of the most important things for a small business, any small business, is accounting. And you really kind of stepped into that role and took on accounting, and embraced running the financials for the LiveWire business. And I mean, to this day, you could probably still step in if you had to, but now you've groomed and trained others to take your place and step into those shoes to become really a leader of the business, a leader in the business, and I would even say a leader in the industry. You are well known for knowing this industry soup to nuts and how to deliver and demand satisfaction when you give out a good product and a good service. So, I mean, it sounds like this is really kind of innate to your personality, is just really kind of demanding satisfaction, but also delivering, like best in quality service as well. If you know what you have to offer, then you know what you deserve to get back in return, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, now as this leader in the industry, what are some of your goals, as you see, LiveWire, now you're the executive vice president. What do you see your role as being moving forward in the future? What do you want to do with the company in your vision right now?
Well, I think the biggest role that I have right now is to establish our leadership team so that we have a succession plan. I think that's super important. I think this is a really, really challenging market right now, a really challenging employment market. And so I think that giving time to developing employees, training employees, and really investing in the team is going to be super, super critical to the future success of the business. And that's pretty much the main focus that I have right now, including operational efficiencies and improvements that are always ongoing as our environment changes and as the industry changes. So those are probably two of the biggest things that I continue to focus on.
I want to cap this off by talking about your most current role and position as president of Black Contractors Owners and Executives. So can you tell us a little bit about that organization and what they do?
Right. So Black Contractors Owners and Executives is a nonprofit organization that supports, mentors, advocates for small Black construction industry businesses. So it's the membership is comprised of not just contractors, but construction related professional service businesses. The unique thing about the organization is that it's run by business owners, right? And so the ability to relate to its membership and service membership is very innate because the people who are leading the organization are also running their businesses and have started these businesses and grown them. So, obviously you were the founder of BCO, and I'm the third president.
That's
and
right.
the organization has grown, just by leaps and bounds since you first founded it. I've been an officer actually since the organization started. So for the past 7 years, I've been an officer of the organization. First, I was the secretary, then I was the vice president, and now I'm the president. So I have been able to see all of the evolution of the organization, the membership, the growth of the membership, the benefits that we've began to really develop for the members so that they have the resources and the really industry specific, I want to say industry specific resources, because it's, a lot of organizations do business development and a lot of organizations do training and development, but the construction industry is so nuanced that people who are entering this industry, growing a small business, need very specific resources, need very specific advice, need very specific support. There is, our plan to extend into the 501c3 arm, which will provide grant funding and programming that will further develop what we do offer our members. Right now, we're doing a lot of advocacy on the local government, city level, and even the state level. Last year was our first year actually writing and proposing legislation downstate in Springfield in spring session. And since then, we've continued to have a presence down in Springfield. As a matter of fact, our September membership meeting will have a panel discussion of elected officials from the state, county, and local governments, where we will talk about some of the things that they're trying to achieve on the government level to benefit Black businesses in construction. And we'll also have a couple of BCO members on that panel talking about the challenges that they experience and why we need our elected officials to advocate on our behalf, and to support policy and legislative change that will continue to allow us access to opportunity and access to capital.
Do you feel as though if organization didn't exist, would the needle be moving at all for Blacks in construction?
I mean, I really don't think so. And the reason why is because, statistically speaking, construction businesses, startup businesses fail very quickly. I mean, that's just
that's any business in construction, really, right? I mean,
right.
It's a tough business.
It's a tough business, but even more so for those who are Black-owned businesses, because we already come into the market in a deficit. our counterparts have generational wealth. They have access to capital and credit worthiness that's already kind of implied by their whiteness. And so they have, right. And so they have much more resources at their disposal than we do. And so it is so important for Black construction businesses, professional services to be represented by an organization that can speak up for them, that can constantly be advocating in the industry for what is needed for their success.
Do you need to be Black to be a part of Black Contractors, Owners, and Executives?
You don't. I mean, we have members and corporate partners and who are white. We call them in the construction industry majority, right? But no, Hispanic, whatever
and they're
race,
all members,
and they're all
Hispanic
absolutely. So
Caucasian,
this is not. Although it's a prerequisite to be on the board, right? So to be a leader in the organization, you know, you have to be a general member, and general members are MBE certified businesses. So you have to be a Black owned business owner to be on the board. But it is obviously open, just like a lot of other organizations, open to all ethnicities, races, genders, et cetera.
So for contractors and people and businesses that want to be a part of Black Contractors, Owners, Executives, how do they get in touch with the organization to follow up?
So the main way is by emailing our executive director, Dr. Octavia Altimer, at xd@bcochicago.org, and our admin, Lisa Pearsall, at admin@bcochicago.org, or go to our website, bcochicago.org, where there's other, just general information. And that's like the first step. There's, our membership meetings and other upcoming events are posted there. Coming to an event is probably the best way to start, getting your feet wet, meeting people, seeing who our presenters are, seeing what opportunities that we, are discussing. And typically when people come to the meeting, they become members.
Right.
So
it's such good information.
It's good information.
We get to hear about all the great things that are happening.
Yep.
In construction and how we could be a part of it.
Yeah.
I like that. I always consider BCO the FUBU in construction.
For us, by us.
For us, by us.
That's right.
So hopefully we don't get sued for that. So we will put all that information in the link below so that you guys can follow up and get involved. And if you have any more questions for Angela and about her journey and how she got here, feel free to put those questions below. And just want to thank you all for joining us today on the Blueprint. If you don't know how to get there, we are here to help show you the roadmap to do it. Thanks for joining us today. Subscribe to the channel. It's a new channel. We definitely are wanting to make sure that folks are involved and we're highlighting your business. So please get involved so we can highlight your business. Thanks a lot and have a good one.
Stay focused, here the heat come.